Welcome back to Cowlitz River Restoration. Thank you for joining in today. I'm going to refinish this cute table for a client. She wanted it to have more of a rustic wood feel, so I'm going to start off by filling the hole where the previous knob was because I'm going to put a new knob on it. And there were a couple dings in it, so I filled those up with my plastic wood putty also. Once that dried, that stuff dries super fast. So once it was dry, I went ahead and sanded it down with a 220 grit and then wiped it off with a towel to get off all of that dust. After that, I went ahead and used my brown chalk paint that I had mixed at my local paint store. It's made by Rust-Oleum and it works really good. I went ahead and used that as a primer. It's brown because she wanted it to have wood tones or warm tones. So usually I prime with charcoal, but this time I decided to do brown. I was doing something a little different and I'm really pleased with the results. So keep watching and you will see how this brown little table, or this cream to brown to, you'll see, it transforms and it turns out really cool. So keep watching. I'm using just a basic little angle brush that I pick up at my local hardware store. You can get them anywhere. I really like the short handles. I like the control that it gives me over my paintbrush, but really it's up to you. So play around and see what feels best in your hand and go do it. It's okay if the coverage on this isn't 100% streak free or perfect, because I'm going to be going over this piece with 3 other colors after this to create kind of a layering weathered effect. So don't go crazy thinking that it has to cover 100%, because it's okay. After I was done with the brown, I used black. And it's actually a chalkboard paint, but I've noticed it works really good on furniture too. So I use this chalkboard paint on the top, and I also am going to use it on the bottom, but only using a dry brushing technique on the bottom. So I don't want the coverage to be much at all. I want it to be streaky. So keep watching and you can kind of see how I accomplish that. Once you get that second color on, do not panic because it does not look good and you're not going to think it looks good. However, like I said, we're going to do 2 other colors after this one and it's going to tie it all together. I feel like I need to add that I do wait for my primer to dry before I go on to my next color, especially on the top, because the top I do want full coverage on, because the top is going to be 100% black. So, but with the bottom, I waited for the primer to dry. After I was done with the black, however, and I go on to my next color, because of the way that I'm doing the paint on the bottom, it doesn't have to be 100% dry before I go on to the next color. When I'm doing the dry brushing, it dries super fast anyways, but I'm okay if my paint smears into itself because I want it to have a really blended look. After I'm done with my black, I used a Coastal Blue by Rust-Oleum chalk paint. Now the blue turned out awesome. I'm super glad that I used the blue. The blue looks fantastic. It adds just that perfect amount of dimension. But here's the thing. So even after the blue, I feel like it's not quite complete. I've said it in my last video when I was doing another piece that 4 is my lucky number when I'm doing weathering jobs. When I'm trying to make it look layered and weathered and I'm doing it with paint, 4 is my number. I pick 4 colors that complement one another, and those are the colors that I use. So after this blue, 1 more color, and that color is Aged Gray by Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I go over it so lightly with the Aged Gray. I try not to do too much at all. Again, just dry brushing, you're just getting the end of your brush damp, and then you're wiping that off. You don't want any excess paint, and then you're just like lightly brushing it on. I used the same paintbrush for all 4 of these colors. The top had some imperfections, so I used my 220 and I sanded it down a little bit before I put on coat number 2 of my black chalkboard paint. After I sanded it, of course, I wiped it off with a towel to remove all the dust. Then I did a time lapse on this part because I feel like you guys kind of know how I did the second coat. I sealed this piece with a brown wax or an antiquing wax. And normally when you use an antiquing wax, you're going to clear wax it first. But because I'm going for a really warm, distressed feel, I decided to go ahead and not clear wax it first because I don't have to follow the rules and neither do you. So I went ahead and sealed this with this brown antiquing wax, and I am so grateful I did. It warmed it right up. I've used this wax also on wood furniture when I've stained something and I wanted it to be just a little bit warmer. I've used this wax on that also and had really good results. I'm a huge fan of it. And this, just like my clear wax, a little goes a long way. You don't need a lot and you don't want it super thick. It's just a fine layer over the paint job to seal it in. If you do it too thick, it's going to take forever to dry, or it might not dry at all. Just a little goes a long way. You just need enough to cover it. The brush that I'm using to apply this wax is a short-handled wax brush that I picked up down at my local Home Depot. While I'm over here already breaking rules, I like to seal my matte or flat black paint with black finishing wax. And I don't like to clear coat it first. I put that black wax right on that paint and it looks great. So what I also did, so I black waxed the whole top after it was 100% dry. Of course, you don't want to wax until the paint is dry. After the paint was dry, I black waxed the top, and then I used my black wax and went just around the seams. My husband is making a guest appearance here, and he is drilling the holes on the drawer so I can put the new hardware on. Scratch that, he put the new hardware on because he's super awesome. So there he is, my super handy, awesome assistant, Austin. And that's it. All ready for its big debut for me to post and share with the client. I can't wait for her to see it. Thank you so much for watching my video. Stay tuned, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.